All right, everybody. Welcome back, algoriters, soulmates, the jury. And what did you say, Simone?
Yes, the jury. To those
The
that are joining
jury.
us, girl,
And
it's
Brian, what was yours?
The bailiffs.
And the bailiffs. So welcome back, everybody. This is part 2 of Diddy Do It with the incredible attorneys, Symone Redwine and our criminal defense attorney, Brion Ross from the state of Florida. All right, everybody. So we heard what your comments were, and I'm going to give you a lineup because as lawyers and as consultants, we like an outline of what we're going to be talking about. We got some awesome stuff to uncover today. Number one, we're going to be talking about the amended complaint. So the complaint has been amended and new people have been highlighted in this lawsuit. One of the biggest amendments we know is Justin Combs has been made now has been entered and put on the complaint as one participating in the trafficking. We're going to make sure Simone breaks us down on that. Also, Prince Harry has entered the chat. Now, I don't know what this actually means. Simone's going to give us a breakdown on why Prince Harry is in here playing at these freak sessions is what we understand or could be. And then we're going to also talk about TD Jakes, who he has not gone anywhere on that complaint, and neither has Cuba Gooding Jr. They are still a part of the complaint, which means that Rodney's not changing his mind. All right. After that, guess what else we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about the ex-CEO of Motown Records, Ethiopia. She has turned her back, and she's the first to turn her back on Diddy and these claims of not only sexual abuse, but sex trafficking. After that, we're going to find out why Diddy's friend, Brendan Paul, who's 25 years old, was arrested at the airport as they were boarding their plane. He was actually arrested. He is the only person so far in the federal investigation where there has been an arrest. Then we're going to talk about Diddy's lawyer statement where he says all of this is a lie. He said it's been made up and that Diddy is being made an example of, and the raid was an ambush and not a search warrant. Then we're going to rotate out of that and we're going to talk about why is Diddy selling his shares in Revolt? Does he need money? Is it to pay somebody off allegedly? Or does he need the money to leave the country? We're going to talk about it right here on Diddy Do It Part 2. And lastly, we're going to talk about what a lot of you have questioned, which is the raid and why some people feel that it was excessive and have labeled it actually as an ambush. All right. All right, everybody, come on in. We got some hot topics and we're going to unpack them all tonight on Diddy Do It Part 2 with lawyer Symone Redwine and criminal defense attorney Brion Ross. All right, Symone, you know, I want to jump right into it. Now, talk to us about the amended complaint. Now, before you get started, tell us what an amended complaint means and why is this significant and what changes were made on that complaint.
Absolutely. So an amended complaint simply means that there are changes from the original accusations. It can be used to add people. It can be used to delete people. It can be used to change up the claims or the facts. Here, it's all of the above. So first, let's talk about who was deleted from this one and who was added. So first, the deletion is the former Motown executive, a woman named Ethiopia. Ethiopia signed an affidavit. And when you sign an affidavit, that means you've signed a document under penalty of perjury, meaning if you're lying, you can go to jail for it, right? Just like Martha Stewart went for perjury, you can go for perjury. Ethiopia basically was a defendant here listed, and she signed an affidavit that said, basically, I don't know nothing. I can't help you. And in exchange, out of here. So I was hoping that this affidavit would be very juicy and just give us a lot of tea, but it falls flat. He's basically saying in the affidavit, and I'll have it available both on my YouTube channel membership as well as on my Instagram membership, because it's more legalese. We don't have time to go over each page. But what she's saying is that as the executive of Motown, Um, uh, with Diddy's complaint, he sued both Motown and Universal Music Group.
You mean with
And
Rodney's complaint?
sorry, yes, with
With
Rodney's
Rodney's complaint.
complaint, he sued the both of them, which is what you standard. It's standard to do that because you're not sure how the money flows. What Ethiopia did was simply confirm that Motown and UMG, Universal Music Group, the way that their money flowed, neither one of them is really going to be on the hook for much here. In effect, it was Diddy's Love Records hired Motown and UMG to distribute the one record and the one record only. It was not a continuing relationship. So she just spoke to the fact that of how the money flowed between them, and that's all she knew. And she stated, "I'm not aware of." For example, they had Ronnie Jones talked about there was a writers event, and at that writers event there was, and the one guy got shot. She was like, "I don't know anything about that. I didn't coordinate that. I wasn't there." So
okay, so hold on right there, Simone, because Brian, we talked about this. A lot of people have been dismissed from that original complaint, right? A lot of people, the judge allowed them to leave that original complaint. Why wasn't she dismissed? Tell us who were actually dismissed from the original complaint, meaning that there was no fault found for them, so the courts released them of any liability. And why wasn't she released at that time? And why is she now releasing herself now?
Go ahead, Simone. Go ahead. You got it.
I'll let you speak to that.
That could be for any number of reasons, right? That could be for any number of reasons. There's so many backdoor discussions that happen between the attorneys that you can't really tell the reason why. But the affidavit that she,
I can tell. I looked at it.
What do you got?
The reason was procedural. So one of the entities that was dismissed was a music studio because they sued them under the wrong entity. They were supposed to sue the studio with the California location instead of New York. So they specifically said, "We're dismissing this one and we're going to refile it under the correct name." So that was procedural. Okay. And then the other one was Ethiopia. She was dismissed in exchange for the affidavit. So that's it.
Okay, so good.
But I want to be clear. Here's the significance. It appears that there are some people that he's added as defendants, although he's really not sure how they may fall into it, but that the plaintiff is willing to dismiss you if you'll sign an affidavit that in some way is helpful to the plaintiff. Signing something that's helpful will let you out. However, know this. Signing an affidavit to get out of a civil case does not mean you are walking away from criminal liability. You can still be on the hook for that.
So what are we saying then? I'm still confused as to why this is a big deal for Ethiopia to say, "Hey, Motown, when I was there, she's not there anymore." So what is she saying by distancing herself, and why are we in the legal system taking this as someone who's turning their back on Diddy?
Well, I think that's the juicy way to interpret it.
Yeah.
I think what we should take away from it is this is the first person to potentially flip, and there could be more. She's going to set the tone that if you tell us what we want to hear, we'll let you out of the case. That's why it's that.
Okay, got it. All right, now you're making sense to me. Now we're cooking with grease. Now take me, please, Brian or Simone. How significant is it that Justin Combs is now being added to the complaint? Now, if he's being added to the complaint, is there still not enough evidence to arrest him? Or where are we standing with the Justin Combs being added to the new complaint, the amended complaint?
He was listed Justin Combs was listed as a defendant in the first one, but he was attached to facts statement, but he was not attached to any of the specific allegations.
Right.
Now he has been added to the specific allegations that discuss trafficking, that is discuss people. So that's the significance of this amendment. Also, notably, under the facts, it talks about Christian Combs also being involved with underage girls and having,
but he wasn't amended. He wasn't amended, right? Christian Combs' name was not brought back.
So I want to be clear on that. Justin is sued, Christian is not, but both are discussed in the complaint.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so I want to, wrap this up on this amendment in this Ethiopia. What is going on? How is TD Jakes' name staying solid in all of this? And I want someone to help me understand, because as we dived into Prince Harry, we realized that Prince Harry, they're just using his name. Right. Prince Harry, we learned once we start to uncover the documents that he was just listed as the type of people that attend the parties. So pretty much Prince Harry is free of any liability as it relates to this lawsuit. However, TD Jakes and Cuba Gooding Jr. is still listed. So Brian, do you want to speak into what significance does that hold? Look at the camera, please. What significance does that hold?
It's significant because Cuba Gooding Jr. was allegedly on the yacht when Diddy, according to the complaint, tried to pass Jones off to him. The complaint says that Cuba Gooding Jr. began to rub his leg and make subversive movements toward him. Okay. So that is subsumed, taken into the entire complaint as far as Cuba Gooding Jr. goes. It's important to note that TD Jakes, and I'm looking at them, I'm looking to the right just to verify because I want to get my facts correct. I'm looking at the complaint now. I don't see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Simone, where TD Jakes is in fact listed as a party in the
correct.
suit.
He is not. He was listed to state that Diddy said he was going to use his relationship with TD Jakes to help to repair his reputation after the Cassie settlement. And I have to say this. I don't like all this name dropping in the petition. It's giving, I hate to say it, I hate the term clout chasing, but it's giving clout chasing. It's giving my facts aren't strong, so I am going to scare you into putting money on the table out of fear of embarrassment. And as an attorney, I would not use that strategy because you lose credibility with judges. You either have the facts to support it or you don't. But if your strategy with getting money and succeeding with the financial settlement is to scare everybody and embarrass them into giving you money, you're going to lose a lot of credibility.
I don't understand that concept, Simone, because he made it very clear in the complaint that he said that TD Jakes was there and he participated in freak sessions. That's what he said. So the question here is he alluding who in those freak sessions were people in that freak session underage? Who was he freak sessioning with? Was he freak sessioning with underage people? Was he free whatever partying with trafficked individuals? Because we know trafficked individuals can be human, they can be adults, and they can be young. So he made it very clear in that complaint that TD Jakes participated in freak sessions.
Simone, let me respond to that a little bit. When you draft your complaint, and I will say that I read this complaint and it was very thoroughly drafted. Some things you put in there, because down the line, you may need to do a thing called depose a witness.
Yes.
So you file a motion to depose the witness. They file a motion to protect themselves, to not be deposed. And then you have to go to court and explain to the judge why you need this person. You don't want to hear the judge say, well, that's not part of your complaint. You need to amend your complaint to add that later. So it could be a legal tactic, a strategy to add these names. I do agree with Simone, there is cloud chasing, but it could be a legal tactic to add it because down the line, can you imagine what a deposition of TD Jakes would look like in this situation? What does he know? The very salacious notion that Mr. Combs would say, don't worry about it. TD Jakes can clean your reputation. Is there some leveraging relationship where someone's in trouble with you and you give it to TD Jakes to clean it up? I don't know. And that's what they're alluding to me.
Yes.
So let
me clarify, Al. There's no allegation that TD Jakes was part of the freak off sessions. Instead, and I'm gonna read it to you guys on page 9 of the complaint of the 90 pages. Paragraph F, it says Mr. Combs was detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop TD Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit.
All right,
That's it.
no. That's the amended complaint. The original complaint, we saw that he definitely said that TD Jakes was a part of the freak session. So that's the amended complaint.
Okay. Well, then it sounds like TD Jakes' attorneys, when they
Are
reached
making
out, because they did reach out to the plaintiffs,
okay.
Yes.
that whatever transpired in that off the record conversation made the plaintiff's attorney say, I better take this up out of here. Because
Okay, so we're saying in the amended complaint, TD Jakes is now erased of any liability or any discussion of participating in any type of freak session.
correct.
All right, so let's move on. All right, thanks everybody for that amended complaint explanation and the significance of Ethiopia, who you consider may be flipping. I don't consider it being significant, but we're going to see. You know, there are two sides to the law, and everybody will see how it plays out in the court of both public opinion as well in courts. Let's talk about this young man that was traveling with Diddy. His name is Brendan Paul, and many have labeled Brendan Paul as the, what did they call him? The
Handler.
They're calling him
that's
the
is that a legal term or some? I call dealers. Is that a legal term? Allegedly.
a mule can't be used in a criminal defense term. It comes out.
Okay, got it. All right, so mule can be used. Dealer cannot.
It's a little different than mule, but call it what you want.
All right, cool. So how significant, or to me, it's very significant that we have surrounding this whole case accusations. We have surrounding this case that there was a supplier that Rodney made very clear what that supplier looked like and who that supplier of for the parties were, right? All right, so now we have in the same plane an individual who is called a mule, but found on him. Yes. How significant is it for the federal government to make an arrest of the mule in association with this case?
Let me take this one, Simone. The first thing is, let's go through the timeline. The private plane flies from where? Was it Van Nuys, California, or something like that? Lands in Opelika, Florida. For the people who are watching and don't know, there's a private airport in Opelika, Florida. You can stay in there and watch DJ Khaled, Diddy, Dwayne Wade, whoever come and go on these private jets. It's the airport in Opelika, Florida. So when a plane lands in Opelika, Florida, just like anything, the police can raid it for it. They can step on it for whatever reason. But the question is, why did they go and search Diddy's plane? Why did they go on this plane? And if Diddy did not get arrested or charged with drugs, right? Common sense, you don't have to go to law school. Possession of something is 9/10 of the law. They found on the alleged mule. How come it wasn't attributed to Diddy also? That's the question you have to ask. Did he just
say it again? I missed it because hold on one second. Hold on. We got to make sure. Look at the camera, please. We got to make sure that people understand what you're saying here, because I'm not legal, and you guys are my legal beagles, and everyone's like, "What's a legal beagle? It should have been a legal eagle." No, they're legal beagles because they win cases. Everybody, it is a term. Legal beagle means you win cases. Brian has prosecuted on the federal level. Simone is prosecuted on the civil level, and they win cases. That's why they're legal beagles. All right, go back, Brian. So he got caught on Diddy's plane. Of course, I'm sure they checked Diddy's stuff too. They couldn't find anything, so they checked everybody's stuff that was on that plane, and they found in the luggage, allegedly. Not allegedly, he's been narcotics
on that plane. That's the key. Supposedly there were two planes. Right. The plane that had the in the mule was different than the plane that Diddy was on. So I think that's
no. One plane was in the Bahamas. One plane was in the Bahamas with nobody on it. All right, let's make sure we gotta get our facts right. One plane was in the Bahamas because that was going to be the next stop. So the plane where the two were together, we don't know. What we don't know, and they weren't clear about, is did they get on the plane together? But we do know that he was there to get on Diddy's plane. That we do know. All right.
In the amended complaint, it states that Diddy would have Brendan or Rodney Jones hold and the firearms. That Diddy never had them on his person.
That's right, which is brilliant. I think to me that's very smart. So how significant, I'm gonna ask the question again, Brian, how significant is it for the federal government when they're doing a raid and looking for evidence that in the raid process they find someone who Rodney said did it with what Rodney said he had on him at the parties?
It's very significant because if this person is in fact charged with a federal crime of trafficking or possession, sometimes they make deals to get out of those situations to try to give the federal government some more information that they may want. In this instance, the federal government now has leverage on Mr. Paul, and who knows what he's willing to do if he's facing significant jail time. And that's the
look at him. He looks like a crackhead. Okay. He looks like
allegedly.
Yeah, he looks like an alleged. Well, no, like he, my opinion don't have to be true, right? He got this big. He looks like he hasn't bathed in 11 days. Okay? He may or may not brush his teeth, and he waits for the rain to come to wash his hair. Okay.
Right. And what is a 56-year-old man doing traveling with a 25-year-old kid? Who aren't his kids? Why is he taking the 25-year-old kid that's not his, but leaving his 25-year-old kid to be ambushed at his house by the Homeland Security, the federal government? I'm confused.
Only somebody that young, dumb, and stupid would be willing to be.
Amazing. It's amazing.
To me, I feel like this is extremely significant, and this could be a pivotal point in this case, because if that young man squeals in any form of fashion or admits to any wrongdoing, it really could be bad for Diddy. All right, everybody, let's go now into Diddy's lawyer statement. Now, Diddy's lawyer, said that this is all an ambush. This is all a tactic to make example of Diddy. Tell me, Brian, in your opinion as a criminal defense attorney, was that ambush, or was that a search warrant being served, or was that ambush? Hold the thought, because this is my take. How did the media in helicopters and ground, how did they know to be there before the Homeland Security raided? They were already set up. They got everything from the inception of this raid until the conclusion of this raid. To me, somebody leaked it. Because the media, how is the media there? Why is there a whole helicopter process and filming this entire process from the time that the agents arrive to the time the agents leave? What's going on here? Is he being made an example of? Is this normal? Is this normal in Homeland Security raids? And we saw pictures of the house all on Instagram. The house looked like it was ramshackled. Is that normal? Talk to us about how raids are done. And is this a regular one, or is this a little bit excessive?
Well, start with the concept that a raid is a raid. A raid is a raid. I don't care if you're living in inner city Chicago or Miami Beach, a $50 million mansion. If they come into your house, a raid is a raid. In this situation, I think you have what? Homeland Security, Miami-Dade Police Department, Miami Beach Marine Patrol, Los Angeles Police Department, and whatever sheriff was there. They had to communicate on a plan. This doesn't happen overnight. This happened planning for weeks. There's no way you keep something like that quiet to keep it out of the media. So they absolutely got leaked. They absolutely got leaked to a source, and that's just the way this country works when it comes to these types of things. You're talking about Mr. Hip Hop himself. So I'm not surprised that they already knew when they got it.
So, my question that I always like to compare to is how they treat Trump and his raid of Mar-a-Lago. Why didn't we see the helicopters there before the raid started? That's, I just want to throw that out there. It's always interesting to me that when it comes to especially Black males, we blow this up to the 10th degree in the media to say, see, I told you so. You know what I mean? In my head. But that's neither here nor there. But okay, so are we saying, Simone, then that the lawyer, what is the lawyer supposed to do? Isn't he supposed to make sure his client appears at all times to be unfairly treated? Isn't he supposed to be fighting for the rights of his client? Isn't he supposed to be convincing the public that Diddy is innocent? So is he telling the truth, or is he telling a lie, or is he doing his job?
Of course, all of those things are the goals of the attorney, but you also reference comparing this to the situation with Trump. Now, Trump's raid, if I recall correctly, and I could be incorrect, I believe that one happened at 5 a.m. in the morning. So that was a bit of a difference, that it started earlier. So it started before some of the cameras and so forth could be visible. But here, yesterday, when we talked about this, Attorney Brian made a great point. He referenced the fact that prior to the raid, prior to the raid, Diddy handed over multiple cell phones. He was requested to do so, and he handed those over. That certainly indicates that his attorneys were given advance notice. And then Brian referenced that in those situations, that is standard. So I want to be clear here. Diddy's attorneys were given a heads up. So he knew something was coming. Now, they don't tell you the day,
Okay.
they don't tell you the time, but they will say, we are going to execute, because they want to make it a smooth transition where there's not going to be gunfire, where there's, where the federal authorities are not going to be put in danger, and neither will the individuals on the premises. Brian,
I think it's also important to mention here that who's to say that the lawyer didn't call the media? Because remember, he wants it to look like that it's unfair and overly aggressive towards his client. So let's be very clear. This is a marketing genius. Diddy is a marketing genius. This could be a PR stunt to make it look like it is an ambush, when in fact it was just a regular staged raid or scheduled raid that all parties knew about. So we all got to keep that in mind too. We got to think about who we are actually talking about, and how he is also mediating the damage on his personal brand. All right, come on. Now let's do, if we're talking about mediating his personal brand, we're going to go to how significant and what do you guys think it means that also today an announcement has happened that Diddy has sold all his shares of Revolt. Absolutely. So that makes him no longer a part of the Revolt brand. And it also cuts off a large portion of his net worth and the money that he had coming in before before the sale. So why is he selling? Because to me, the selling of your Revolt shares, now I'm just speaking as a layman, you guys are lawyers, but as a layman, to me, I wouldn't sell the shares of my company that I've owned over a decade unless I needed money. And if I needed the money, what do I need the money for? Do I need the money because I need to pay some things to go away? Or do I need the money because I'm leaving the country like Russell Simmons? No, we're not throwing no shade on Russell. But one thing that we saw happen to Russell is he started to unwind all his US-based businesses. He resigned from all his US-based boards, and he moved to Bali. Is this similar, Brian? Simone, is this a similar type of strategy that Diddy may too be employing, or is he selling?
Part? And then I'll let Brian speak to the criminal part.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think first of all, if you're facing significant criminal charges, the one thing you want to do is, if you can, liquidate your assets. Liquidate your assets. Move the money to a place where it's hard to get it to. All right. Now, is he doing that? I don't know. I think they asked him to step down as chairman when Cassie filed her complaint in that last November. Right. So he really wasn't managing it all. And he probably was in negotiations for a long time to try to get the right price. When this hits, you got to take it now because the price is going to die. So I think that he probably made an effort to get out of there as soon as possible.
Got it. Yeah, okay, so tell me, hold on one second, Simone. Tell me really quickly, Brian, let's go back to why is it important to liquidate your assets and move the money? Is that because you, as the person who filed the lawsuit, they can go after the shares of Revolt TV?
Well, you see what our former President Donald Trump faced this week. He had a $455 million judgment or something to that matter of fact against him, and he couldn't get a bond. And because he couldn't get a bond, he almost had to liquidate Trump Tower. The judge spared him a little bit and reduced his bond amount to something he could afford. I think Diddy is thinking long term. I think he's listening to a team of legal advisors telling him, here's the risk. If this goes from a civil matter to a criminal matter, you have to be liquid. You can't sell things from
in the pot. Gotcha. Okay, making sense. All right, Simone, what did you want to add to that?
He said too, and producer Sean in the back, if you could put my name up at the bottom, if that's possible. If not, that's fine. We'll continue. But I was just going to say, yeah, remember, there's also moral turpitude clauses in with each of these different organizations. Now, we don't know what it says, but likely that is the reason he had to step down. But it also may have forced the sale of his shares. So generally, when you are an owner of the size that he was, they make you sell the shares first back to them.
Right.
So
well, this was so no. This was sold to an anonymous person, and also remember, I worked in banking. You can't just dump all these shares all at once. That throws a red flag to the SEC in your trading. So it has to. Usually, what you have to do is you have to do it in phases if you are totally separating yourself from the company, because if not, it like Brian said, it could throw your stock price. It could throw the sentiment of your investors in a very volatile way. So I want to know a little bit more. So maybe as we dive deeper into this week, we'll find out exactly how he disposed of those, who they went to, because that's very important, and how was he paid out? Because just because you sold your shares does not mean that you got the money that's associated with that shares. You can take it in the different ways as you unwind your position. All right, guys, let's keep going.
Since you have finance experience, one thing I wasn't sure about is a guess that I had was that he either sold or both sold it, some of it back to Revolt, and or he had one of his children purchase it. In the same way that we saw the raid was done at a home that was in the name of one of his daughters, I saw, okay, if he has one of his children, and it's basically like he's still owning it, but it's the technical ownership is in someone else. So I know the article said that it was sold to an anonymous person, but couldn't that anonymous entity be Revolt in portion?
Wow.
I don't know that you would want to not be transparent with your investors and hiding that it went back to Revolt. I think you got to understand that there's a filing that happens when you do this type of thing, and it has to be, if it's Revolt, they really have to make it aware that it's coming back to them. I think you might be on track with saying that maybe it's going to a family member, and right now that undisclosed person, or which is what I think is also happening, is he's trying to work the deal out. I'm thinking he has not finalized the purchase. We know that a sale is out there. We know that there's interest, but the dotted line has not been signed. That's what it sounds like to me when you use words like anonymous, we don't know, because that means you're hiding something or it's not complete. All right, let's go to wrapping this.
Is that it wasn't 50 Cent? I said, but the only thing I do know is he didn't sell it to 50 Cent, because baby, 50 Cent would have told all of us. He would have let us all know.
50 Cent is on his neck, baby. 50 Cent is not letting up. And it's so interesting. They are also, they're on Meek Mill's neck too. What is this with Meek Mill and 50 Cent and Diddy? Like, what is going on there? Why is that such a trend in our blogs?
Because nobody wants Meek to be gay. That's all.
Ooh.
That's why.
All right, counselor. Sounding a little messy over there.
There's some chatter, backroom chatter, unsubstantiated chatter, to be clear, that Meek Mill and Diddy were romantically involved. That is backdoor chatter. It is unsubstantiated. We don't know if it's true or not. But I wonder if that's what they're getting at with that comment.
As well as that Meek was with underage girls. And I will say, in those instances, that does not mean he knew the girl was underage.
That's what I was talking about.
From the Jane Doe, she stated she was 17 years old. she was at a 21 and up nightclub, and that's where she met these gentlemen. So when that happens, I don't like holding these men account, like labeling these men as child predators when they were in environments for adults and had no idea they were dealing with the child.
As terrible as it sounds,
You know,
though,
that I could see, like, if I promise you, if I had ever gone, and I've gone to a couple of parties, but if I participated in any of those sessions, I would be concerned right now, because did we check the ID of the people that we kissed or that we with? Probably not. You know, according to allegedly, it was infused, alcohol infused, you know, substance abuse infused of some sorts. So are we running around every pretty girl that we see in a nice dress and sometimes in bathing suits? Are we asking them for their ID before we take them in bedroom number 7 and foo la la?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Al, because one of the little pieces of tea that I have for today is I have a copy of Diddy's confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement. It's actually at the bottom of the chat. I think it's Exhibit B when I put it up. But what I found most interesting about it, is pretty brief, is that it is demanding that you keep everything you've experienced with him confidential from the longer of 20 years after his death or 75 years from the date of signing the agreement.
So we know the significance of that, because the estate can be attacked for any type of abuse, right? Right. Because most of his estate and his business interests are in a LLC. So just like Cassie put that LLC in her complaint and in her lawsuit, that's probably why he has those numbers. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, this man seems like he's got a good lawyer and pretty smart in protecting not only his business, but his family's fortune. All right, so let's wrap this up, everybody. But before we wrap this up, this is what I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. All right, so as it relates to where we are, does the federal government, does Rodney Jones' lawyer have a strong case? Are they in the building stage, Brian? Because, you know, we've seen lawyers build and they build and they build until they have a strong case. Right now, it's clear that they can't get him arrested. There has not been an arrest warrant issued on Diddy. So tell me, from your professional opinion, what is Rodney Jones' lawyer thinking about right now? I'm going to give that to Simone. Brian, what is Diddy's lawyer thinking about right now? Simone, take it away.
Rodney Jones's lawyer is probably thinking, we got him. We have him right where we want him. Because remember, the initial claim is he was only paid $29,000 and he probably wanted something closer to $100,000. Honestly, they were probably arguing about $70,000 worth of money or funds prior to ever filing suit. And if he had just paid him a reasonable amount, we wouldn't be here. Now, these lawyers are seeking to trigger insurance for him as an employee and all of the others. But here's one of the most important things we need to follow that I don't know his lawyer is thinking about, but should. His lawyer is going so hard on these claims that are going to trigger criminal charges, because I do believe Diddy will be indicted. But remember, I previously represented one of R. Kelly's victims, right? And I went hard on him. And when we went hard on him, what happens is once those criminal charges are filed, your civil case is frozen.
Yep, that's right.
It's frozen. So what may end up happening is, by going so hard on the criminal stuff, if you're unable to get good money on the table, is you've now prolonged what could have been a 1-year lawsuit into 5, 6, a bankruptcy lawsuit, a this, that, and the other, where it could take years. So you have to follow that.
All right, Brian. What is Diddy's lawyer thinking right now?
Diddy's lawyer is thinking, the number one problem we have is that there's too many witnesses. There's too many of these parties. There's too many people who saw this or that. And Diddy is a person who attracts attention. He's made billions of dollars doing it. And they're trying to come after him at different levels. So Diddy's lawyer's job, he's in absolute damage control. And if you read his statement today, and I'm going to quote it, he says, We have overwhelming, indisputable proof that his claims, Rodney's claims, are complete lies. Our attempts to share this proof with Mr. Jones' attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, have been ignored as Mr. Blackburn refuses to return our calls. We will address these outlandish allegations in court and take all appropriate action against them, against those who make them. That statement is empty. It just deflection.
Right, that's what it sounds like to me. That statement says that you as lawyers, you have done something to break down that communication. And the reason why you don't have communication now is because you stopped communication earlier, because you didn't believe Rodney was going to bring this all to the courts and put his on the mat like Cassie did. I don't understand why Diddy is off the heels of one of the most detrimental brand erosions of his brand after Cassie, and would take that stance with Rodney Jones. He is in a place now that many will argue is irreparable, or you can't repair it. And I don't understand why he would do that in less than 6 months. You haven't given the public any time to have any type of empathy, any type of anything. All we know is that this is who you are. More people are coming forward, and now we feel like you're lying. So this is a question before we close out tonight. In public opinion, let's all give our votes right here, right now. In public opinion, if I had to take a vote, now public opinion, everybody, is not legal opinion, because we know many people can get off on legalities, but in public opinion, Brian, where do you stand? Is he guilty or not guilty? Public opinion.
Wow. In the
public opinion, not yours.
Public opinion, Diddy is guilty.
All right, Simone, public opinion, is Diddy guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
All right, public opinion from Al Reynolds, he is guilty. So did he do it? Right now in public opinion, everybody, we're saying that it's not looking so good for Diddy, but stay tuned and be sure to come back tomorrow, because we're going to find this until we're going to follow this until a conviction is discovered. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for our part 2 of Diddy Do It with attorney Symone Redwine and civil defense attorney Brion Ross. I want to thank you both for all of your great insight, and your legal beagle definitely shined tonight, and I appreciate you. For those in the chat, we are watching your chat and we're looking at your questions. We do allow, and everybody, I want you to understand that producing a show, this is our first time ever working with each other. And we don't have, this isn't like a production team that's hired. This is us putting it together to make good entertainment and informative information for you. So, of course, we're going to talk over each other, especially for me. I'm your host, so that means I have to traffic the conversation. I have to stay within the guidelines. My producer gives me things to move forward. I got to move us forward. I'm not over-talking anyone to disrespect anyone. I'm over-talking to keep the conversation fluid, informative, and entertaining. Thanks, everybody. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and leave your comments, because we're going to try to get to as many as we can. Brian, Counselor Brian, Counselor Simone, thank you so much for your brilliance. Everybody, have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.